So let us get this over with. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, your one and only host,
the Cosmic Jedi.
Welcome back to my channel.
Ain't that something?
Time to take pictures of random strangers without their consent.
There.
I have completed the Spider-Man 2 game.
Well done.
Almost twice now. First time for sure, and I was high off the story, high off the changes and the upgrades and whatnot. And now that I'm playing it for the second time, I'm realizing a few issues I had with the game. First of all, the first rating I gave it, the first time I played it and completed it, it felt like an 8 out of 10.
What?
7 out of 10. Not 10 out of 10. No way.
Damn, son.
No way. The first one, though, feels like it was a 10 out of 10. I think I remember feeling this is a very, very well-made game, especially a well-made Spider-Man game. So I'm thinking 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 for the first one, for sure, if I'm remembering how I felt about it. Because the current version that I played, the first one, is the remastered version. So for to do an overall rating for that one, I would give it a 10 out of 10. Story, gadgets, gameplay, motion capture, performance, everything. Graphics, world building, world expansion, definitely 10 out of 10 for sure, because it's been so long since I played an awesome Spider-Man game, and Insomniac did a great job in making a Spider-Man game how it's supposed to be made. Even though there were some characters that you were forced to play as or play with in the first one that I didn't like and didn't care for, I feel those things should have been optional for the player. If you skip them, then let us see the cutscenes that is attached to that. Nice one. These days, make things optional for your players. It's a Spider-Man game, so I'm not in the mood to do any side missions as any other character that are not Spider-Man or don't have superpowers. If you had made us play as other characters who had some superpowers, then yeah, cool. If the first game had come out and there was a separate mission where you had to play as Daredevil, why would I complain about that? There's no complaint whatsoever. If I can play as Daredevil in your main Spider-Man game, of course, I'll do it. I'll be over the moon for it. And if that's your little teaser for a DLC only package to play in the world of Spider-Man, but as Daredevil, let's go for it. But you're not giving us that. You're allowing us to play as some random character. Random in the sense of no superpowers, and I don't feel has any stake in the grand scheme of things when it comes to playing as the character. You can tell us the story of the character without having to let us play as the character. Had a few issues with the storyline or the narrative between Peter Parker and Mary Jane. I would not want to be in a relationship like that. I would not want to date someone like Mary Jane. That relationship to me is a sucky relationship, but it works for them. The first intro with Sandman didn't make sense. I didn't like how you have metahumans in jail or in some high max prison, and there's no superhero or no supervillain powers dampening device around his neck. I didn't understand that one to begin with. Then they let him run amok in the city, and because he must have been, I've forgotten the storyline. That's how much I didn't care about it. It didn't really sink or settle. He's complaining about no one is listening to him because of his daughter. He's being hunted. And I thought, okay, was he being hunted outside of prison or did he break out of prison? See, I've forgotten. So maybe he was just chilling and he was really cool. Then he was being hunted by the hunters. But then again, I thought to myself, I thought Kraven didn't know about him till the people presented Kraven with the device or the iPad saying, oh, there's more people to hunt in New York or whatever. So at what point did Kraven meet up with Sandman and start hunting him? And
a few moments later.
So on top of that, Kraven got away with killing. When I say got away with, because the way they made Kraven look, he looked like a serious threat.
Come on, don't bullshit me.
I thought he was going to be threat number 1 and then Venom would be threat number 2 or vice versa. They would make Kraven look like he's threat number 1, but he's technically threat number 2 and then Venom is the main threat. Now, the way they wrote Kraven to me was stupid. I didn't even know he had superhuman strength. I thought it was just something he trained himself on or he derived it from some special herb like T'Challa, which I wouldn't have minded. But the way they wrote him, 1 minute he's hunting, he's tactical about certain things, and there's one scene where he had a crossbow and he shot at the lizard, and I thought he was one of those guys where it's like, I don't care what kind of creature you are, lizard, snake, venom, bug, vulture, Green Goblin, Black Goblin, Ghoul Goblin, I'm still gonna mess your ass up. I thought that's what they were writing him as. I've got superhuman strength, but I'll go toe to toe with you. I'll maybe 1 or 2 gadgets, but I'm gonna mess you up. I don't need no suit of armor, no special tech, whatever. I'm just gonna choke you out with my bare hands and thump you down. I thought that's how they were writing the guy. When I saw him shoot at the lizard with a crossbow, I thought, you're a douchebag. He talks so much game. Blah, 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 blah.
Your mouth is moving a lot like a rat. Yappa, 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 yappa. Shut it, please. Thank you, Shanice.
And he came out with a crossbow. People will argue, well, that's not how you hunt someone. You hunt someone like, I'm not here to how you hunt someone. Based on how they wrote the character, he seemed like someone who would go toe to toe with these supervillains. He grabbed Scorpion, Jesus! Broke his tail off, and then put the tip of the tail back in his body and poisoned him and killed him right there. And he killed Vulture off screen. So I'm like, well, those guys aren't necessarily mutants per se, or mutated people like the lizard man is, or whatever his name is. But you managed to take down Vulture, and I assume you managed to take down Vulture, and then Scorpion, and you held him with your hand. That guy too certainly has some superhuman strength. That's what I was saying to myself. How do you have all these villains in prison? I know Scorpion can't. I think Scorpion has a thing where his suit of armor can't be taken off. It's bonded or merged with his body, so that's how he is for the rest of his life, or that's how, until he died.
Damn, son.
And I wanted to start this review by saying the good points, or the bad points are just sticking out more than the good points. And hence I want to get them off my head real quick and then go into the good points. So the Sandman thing didn't work for me. Kraven the Hunter thing was just a waste of time, pathetic. The Mary Jane dynamic in Peter Parker, boring. Plain as Mary Jane again, make it optional. It's not needed, it's not necessary. And they wrote that into the first one. They didn't have to write it this way. You could have written it in a different way where he just has conversations with Mary Jane. You show her on screen. Maybe have Peter play as Peter Parker from time to time with Mary Jane. They're talking, or their dinner dates, or wherever. Or even if we're doing a mission with Mary Jane, make sure it's Spider-Man that's an active character and Mary Jane is in the background. Maybe like a Kratos and Atreus thing. I wouldn't have minded that. As long as my main playable character is Spider-Man or Peter Parker, then I can just use my little right trigger to just control Mary Jane in the back there. I don't have to play. Even same thing with Miles. Unless Miles had the spider powers already and then was using it at the beginning, I wouldn't have minded that as well. But before he got bitten by the spider, you were made to play as him. I didn't enjoy that. These things, I feel you want to include them, make them optional. You're about to play as so and so. Do you want to? No. Skip to the cutscene. Get it over with. Now, if they made this gameplay style, the way that they changed up Mary Jane's gameplay, if they kept it for the first one, or they introduced it the way they did in the second one and the first one, I probably wouldn't have minded it. Probably. And if you want to do it the way they did it now in the first game, shorter, concise, precise, onto the next thing. Don't make it long and then stretch it out and sprinkle it all over the place. Maybe, but she was fighting hunters with a stun gun. These are people who were trained assassins, I assume. Trained killers. What? These are people who were trained killers, and she was just stunning them, tasering them. Then they had the nerve and the audacity to write dialogue for Kraven, doing voiceover as he's talking to people, saying this woman has stalked you even though you're hunters. And it's like, it felt like a tongue-in-cheek fourth wall break thing. Like, we know what you're thinking, gamers. You're thinking, how is Mary Jane able to do this even though she's not as trained as the hunters, or even though she was trained by Sable, but you weren't trained by them. These guys are a different league entirely. Hence they had to come from wherever they were into the city. They even had cloak devices. That's how high tech. They're prepared. They do this every day, I assume, on a regular, maybe Thursdays and Fridays, and the rest of the week they just chill. I don't know. But you depicted them to us, or to me, how I received them as, don't mess with these dudes. Don't mess with these dudes. So I thought, okay, cool. That's how they setting up Kraven and his people. Fine. Then they introduced Mary Jane doing a side mission. She's stunning them. I'm like, yo, come on, son. She's yanking out arrows, straight from the arrow tip. I swear there's a movie I watched and different movies I'd seen where I think, I could be wrong, but when you've been impaled by an arrow, you break off the tail. You don't pull it out, because I assume the way the tip is the end of the tip. By the time you yank it out, it opens the wound further. I assume, especially if it's penetrated your body, you break it off at the tail, and then I think you pull it out. So she said from the other side. I could be wrong though, but I remember some scenes in different movies where you're not supposed to pull out the arrow. And she just does it. And in some scenes, the blood is there, not there. Just this little inconsistencies. The Mary Jane thing, I don't care for it. I even saw a few clips from the interview with the game director saying, oh yeah, we admit that Mary Jane is OP, overpowered, but we don't care. Do that nonchalant, even though your audience, some of your audience is saying, my guy, we didn't ask you to put this in. We already complained from the first one. You heard the complaints. You saw it. You are aware of it, but you still felt, let's do it anyway. Now that, when it comes to giving game developers and or game developer companies, kudos. I just felt, let me just remove some points. You can't have your main director of this particular game or your studio. I don't know if it's the main director of the studio or just the team of this game. You are where you say it. We know people didn't like it the first time, but it was always something you're going to include. Fine, include it. Make it optional. No one's saying don't include it. It's your game, cool. Since you're the one making your game, we can't tell you to make a game with a character with 5 eyes and nine bombs or 3 ears, whatever. It's your game. You're gonna do what you want to do. Make it optional. Sometimes these game companies have not been tested properly. Where you release a game and we see there are things in the game we don't like, we're not going to buy it. When you are deliberately not paying attention to your audience, when we've complained with the first, if this was the first game, fine. We say now you are going to do DLC or new game plus option. Please include in your updates or your patches optional choice when it comes to Mary Jane and other playable characters or side playable characters that are not superhero characters. If they give us the option of playing as Mary Jane plus Yuri, awesome. No complaints here whatsoever. It's like making us play as Genki and it doesn't use gadgets. Making us play as Genki would be cool if you implement some creative, fun ways that we don't get bored because we came here to swing and kick ass as Spider-Man. If you said Spider-Man 2 plus other side playable characters, then, cool. Make it optional.
Finish him!
You incredibly irritating human being.
Well done.
I feel there aren't enough people saying we're going to boycott your games, despite we wanting to play. We'll boycott if you don't listen, because you're making your games for us. Unless you have a replicant of yourself, variant of yourself, you're making the game for yourselves in multiverses, do you? Well, we are paying for your games. We are paying for the experience that you're designing for us. So you can say creatively you're doing the games that you would want to have played, fine. But you are, let's say, 50 people in the room, 100, 200, 1 billion copies have been sold. Billion people are not in the same room as you guys making the game. I imagine there have been some people who say, I don't think we should do this Mary Jane thing. You didn't say, I don't care. What does I don't? Listen to your fans, your people who give you the money for the game. You are charging $70 for a game, $80, $90, deluxe edition. You can go and hang yourself. You people, sometimes these guys, when a game comes out and we hear from people who have tested the game, so and so is in the game, it's not optional. Hey, fuck off. When you boycott these guys, we need to find ways to teach them a lesson because nobody's saying we're going to control how you make the game. Nobody's saying, if you make Peter Parker 6'4", we're not going to buy it. Stop putting dumb shit in the game that people don't want to experience. Now I'm going to move on to the dialogue, for example. Dialogue is atrocious at some points. Some background vocals for the bad guys, just reoccurring lines. Don't let him web you, or let me go, or put me down, or he's webbed me, or it's sticky. How did you do that? I'm like, what the hell? Are these guys like noob bad guys who just come to the city and don't know Spider-Man exists? I don't think you have to write dialogue for the bad guys when you're fighting them. And when you do, please make it something creative or just moans and groans. No, not this again. Or even not this again sounds stupid me saying it because it's like, well, that means you've experienced being webbed up by Spider-Man and then you still came out to repeat the crime, but you therefore can't say not this again. I just feel there should have been some serious effort put into some of the bad guys who were complaining. And then the other ones was like, I'm going to rip your head off, for example. I'm like, did you see what I did to your teammates just now? Your guys are practically in a coma. Everyone, even the women are in a coma right now. You are going to rip my head off. So you are saying the zeal you have in your body to rip my head off is higher than your teammates. They are in a coma. You are next. But I guess that one kind of works for bad guys, or especially with the hunters. I'm going to rip you from limb to limb. Rip where? Rip who? Rip what? I mean, someone's teeth is on the floor like dice. The other one has peed his pants. That one has sprained her spine. That one's ribcage is definitely sore. What limbs are you going to be ripping? What makes you special? Because you're hanging up top there shooting with your bow and arrow? Stop it. But some dialogue did make me laugh, but there was some background dialogue from the bad guys. The regular human beings, at least the Venom bad guys, don't say shit. So I feel that's all the bad stuff I can get out the way. The Mary Jane thing, I do not need it. Do not need any side playable. Any characters that is a playable character in the Spider-Man game, as long as they're superheroes. If they had introduced Silk, I wouldn't have complained. Gwen Stacy wouldn't have complained. Porky Pig Spider-Man wouldn't have complained. Even Mech Tech Spider-Girl, whatever, I would have complained. Mary Jane using a taser to take down trained assassin men and women on paper doesn't make sense. It sounds cool. Unless you put some venom thing where you dart them, and I don't know, but it didn't make sense. I already knew. I thought to myself, if these guys were wise, if they were wise, they would say, hey, people, we have the Mary Jane character playable again. People go, oh, not again. Maybe a small group of people like, yes, finally. But for those of you who didn't like it the first time, we heard you. This time we've included an optional mode where you can opt out of playing as her, and it won't spoil the experience. I mean, when you opt out, the cutscenes play nonetheless, plays as if you had finished playing the scene. Win is a win. You don't piss off your audience. The other ones who like the playing as Mary Jane get to play. Those of us who don't like it get to switch off and say opt out, and everyone wins. You might complain and say, oh, but our team took time to make it. Our team, worked night and day, and some of them lost their jobs. Some of them lost their eyeball. Some of them lost their nostrils. Some of them can't breathe. So because you put so much time and effort into making this, we didn't ask you to. It's just, you can't complain and say, because of time. No. No one asked you to put them in the game for these simple things. You have chosen to do that. You chose to put time and effort into that thing. With the extra time and effort, you put respect on it, saying, hey, we don't want to upset our main players. That's where the money is coming from. Yes, your shareholders, stockholders, investors, reinvestment, even that. I want to make a separate video. I keep saying it. I want to make a separate video where we can discuss what's the relationship like between developing studios, people with the money, and then we, the consumers. Because sometimes, if not most of the times, it feels like we're just getting the short end of the deal. They're happy. They pay their rent and bills, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's doing their beta trips. We're here thinking, why is the game released with so many bugs? Why are we playing as this character? Why are they choosing to do this? Why are they choosing? Is that what do you, it just feels like sometimes you don't care. And you're human beings. You're not special beings. You're not special with some special blood that we've never heard of before. You're not special aliens. You're regular like everyone else. Even you with the money holders, you're regular. Unless the shareholders are special aliens from a different planet. You're human beings. I don't understand why a company would say we're going to make a game. We go to so to get funding. What's the return on investment? Maybe like 4 or 5 years. Make it 2 years. What does that mean? Are you helping them make the game, or are you just controlling make it 2 years? And if you don't have any gaming production idea, how many companies have you given money to that are game studios? Are you haven't at least taken time to learn? We keep treating these investors and shareholders as if they're these magical spiritual entities. You're human beings. Surely in your multitude of numbers, there's one of you who has passion for gaming and the creative energy it takes to make a very, very successful game. So when someone comes to you and says, we want some money, you've done it before, it's been successful, what's the time scale? We need 5 years. Cool. What's the rush about? Unless it's the reverse. Investor says, here is 6 years. Game studio says, no, don't worry, we'll do it in 3. Then you're screwing us over because you got the money and that's what you care about. Sometimes you parade as if you care about the consumer, but you're releasing games that are presented as full games. Then maps are locked off because it's DLC. If you're saying you're presenting a full game, every part of the map is open 100%. Then you release a patch or you release a DLC that's paid or free or whatever, whichever way you choose. We didn't zoom out on the map and say, oh, that wasn't there before. They've added that. Not that that part was grayed out when I played the game the first time on release. And now because I paid for DLC, that grayed out part is now unlocked. I don't understand. Woosah, I've never made a game. Yes, I'm getting there. I'm getting there because I'm sick and tired of these motherfuckers. I'm getting there. So people will probably argue, you don't know what it feels like to make a game. You don't know what it takes, what it entails. I'm not even trying to listen to those douchebags. I swear to God. If you can't ask simple questions and understand what's going on, or we get simple, truthful answers, because what it looks like to me is you've created, trying to find I can't believe there's nothing here I can use as an example.
A few moments later.
This is the full game, right? This is the full game. When you designed it, then, I don't know, your deadline is too close that you were given by some magical, spiritual, wicked demon entity that will suck your soul if you don't release it in the exact deadline that the magical, spiritual, wicked entity, demon, soul, spirit, whatever, sucker gave you. And because it gave you money, and the agreement is if you don't do it by the time, you can keep the money, but it'll take your soul and demon suck your family, whatever, right? Then when you release the game, you release it like this. We don't know the game was intended to be like this. You release it like this and convince us that this is the full game. Of course, those of us who don't know, who don't have any insiders and whatnot, we take it as gospel. This is truth. Whatever we've seen that you've given us is truth. But at the same time, those of us who are playing, we realize that this part is grayed out. So in the map, we're like, well, you released this and you said this is the full game. So when the DLC comes, this part that's grayed out will be unlocked. So is this the full game? And this is the DLC. So how are we seeing the future DLC map thing to be on? Why is it locked off? If you release this as the full game and then you say you're going to release DLC, give me a second. You're going to release DLC and then you add this in the DLC, paid DLC or free DLC. Then we say, oh, so we're paying for this part now. Well, we're happy with this part. Is this part necessary? Then you say, well, it's not necessary. You don't have to. Again, optional. I don't feel how you should make DLC a mandatory thing. That's wickedness. $70 for this. And then what's this? $25? $30? $35? $15? This should be $5. But then again, what do I know? I'm not an investor. I've not put shareholders, whatever. I've never made a game. So why is he talking? All he knows how to do is talk and complain on YouTube. You people sometimes, I don't know how you get fooled and swallow the tomfoolery. They bent you over backwards, put something up your special spot. You are just drinking from that end and you are okay with it. They are supposed to sell this as a full game. They then sell this and convince us this is a full game. You are not playing the game saying, oh, as I'm playing around the map, this part is grayed out. Why are some parts grayed out? Or they'll unlock it they will unlock it in DLC. I genuinely don't know what that means. They will unlock it in DLC. If only there was a special organization around the globe in different parts of the world that encouraged and inspired young people to get involved in making games. These bad gaming practices would not exist. Maybe it would, but you'd have serious companies rivaling. When you hear one peep out of one company screwing the fans, they'd be like, naff them off. We'll go to another company. Because those of us who play games would also be involved in making games. Those of our children who love games would be involved in making games from early. If only there was a global system where anyone who's into these special things, there are special divisions for people who are into games, making games properly, I don't want to say not morally, proficiently. So that when you enjoy the experience of a game, you say, wow, that's a well-made game. And you look forward to even working for or with that game developing company. You're like, yo, you guys make dope games. You take time. You respect your artists. You don't overwork your team. You listen to input. You listen to your audience when you implement something. We don't like it. You take it off real quick. Because at the end of the day, these games are made to be played, challenging or not, hard or not, extra hard or not, whether it's Souls Born, Souls Unborn, Souls Dead, Souls Redead, whatever you want to call it, or these are special games for hardcore players, whatever it is, it's an open world for everyone to enjoy it. From Mario Bros to Smash Bros to Tetris. It's play. We're here to play the game, play chess, play Monopoly, play Ludo. God damn it, man. Some people are just born making simple things difficult. Then they have the balls to tell you it's just business. What the fuck does that mean?
Let's talk about the MJ missions a little bit.
Okay, let's talk about it. I knew that those missions weren't the fan favorites coming out of Spider-Man 1. And if she's low OP, I don't give a shit.
Rant over for round one. In terms of the performances, I instantly fell in love with the actor who played Harry Osborn's character.